One night, after Romy makes love with her husband, Jacob, she feels a lingering sense of dissatisfaction. Still yearning for fulfillment, but seeing Jacob already asleep, she quietly slips away into her study. There, she grabs her laptop and hastily browses through provocative content to satisfy her desires. The next morning, Romy, who is obsessed with preserving her youthful look, begins her day by going through her skincare routine. Afterward, she dutifully fulfills her role as a mother by preparing her daughter's lunch for school and serving breakfast for the family. As they eat, Isabel, Romy's eldest daughter, asks if her girlfriend, Mary, can sleep over at their house. Romy immediately declines, wanting to establish boundaries, which clearly disappoints Isabel. Later, on her way to the office, Romy becomes uneasy when she witnesses a ferocious dog attacking nearby pedestrians. As the dog turns its attention toward her, a man in a loose-fitting coat whistles at the animal and extends his hand, which causes the dog to approach him calmly. Grateful for his help, Romy can't help but wonder how he managed to pacify the dog so effortlessly. Once at work, Romy introduces a new robotic product from her company named Harvest, which she promotes as a solution to make workplaces more sustainable, efficient, and secure. Back in her office, her assistant, Esme, welcomes the incoming interns while Romy prepares to meet them. Romy greets them warmly and invites them to ask questions to break the ice. One intern, named Samuel, boldly inquires whether she genuinely believes automation leads to sustainability, or if it's just a marketing gimmick to make people accept robots. Esme finds his question inappropriate and quickly dismisses the group. Romy stays silent, having recognized Samuel as the same man who calmed the aggressive dog. During the intern's tour, Esme recommends applying for the mentorship program, emphasizing its benefits. The next afternoon, Romy, busy with a phone call, instructs Samuel to make her a coffee. When he brings it, Romy asks how he managed to calm the dog, and Samuel replies that he gave it a cookie. Playfully, he offers her one, but she declines. That night, Romy urges Jacob to be more passionate during intimacy. He obliges at first, but eventually stops, feeling as though he's taking advantage of her. At the office Christmas party, Romy chats with Esme about the origin of her name, but her attention repeatedly drifts towards Samuel. Feeling overwhelmed by the crowd, Romy steps out onto the balcony for a cigarette. Samuel follows and asks to borrow her lighter, which she hands over. Out of nowhere, he informs her that he has chosen her as his mentor, leaving her perplexed. She explains that she's not part of the program, but Samuel insists, saying he received an email listing her name. Back inside, Romy watches Samuel dancing joyfully with another employee, and surprisingly, this lightens her mood. Samuel removes his tie and, as he tries to stuff it into his pocket, accidentally drops it. The following workday, Romy sees the cleaning staff taking down the Christmas decorations and notices Samuel's tie still lying there. Before anyone else can pick it up, she quickly grabs it. Back in her office, she tries to concentrate on her tasks, but the bag containing Samuel's tie keeps distracting her. Unable to resist, she pulls it out and sits on the couch, caressing the fabric as she fantasizes about him. Soon after, Romy visits a cosmetic clinic to receive fillers and Botox injections. Later at home, while taking a family Christmas photo, Romy becomes irritated by Isabel's casual outfit. She rushes over to check the image and, just as she suspected, Isabel appears awkward. She demands Isabel change clothes, but Isabel refuses and mocks Romy's new look, which wounds her deeply. The next day in the elevator, Romy checks her reflection, still affected by Isabel's comment. Samuel suddenly joins her and mentions he's excited for Tuesday. Romy looks puzzled, prompting Samuel to say it's the date of their first mentorship session. Romy declines again, saying she doesn't have time. Samuel insists it's only 10 minutes and surely she can make room. Noticing a bruise on her cheek, he tells her she doesn't need enhancements. Seeing Romy grow uneasy, he quickly compliments her new appearance instead. During lunch, Romy paces in her office and spots Samuel and Esme together on the balcony, which makes her curious about their closeness. Later that evening, While Esme applies concealer to Romy's bruise, she asks if there's a chance for a promotion. Romy tells her she's competent at her job and promises to consider it. During their mentorship session, Samuel asks Romy how her dream of warehouse automation began. Romy finds the question silly, pointing out that he could easily look that up online. Samuel insists that he wants to hear her answer directly because he believes the internet is untrustworthy. With no other option, Romy recalls her journey, how she was recruited by an investment firm. As she recounts her story, Samuel repeatedly tries to interject, seemingly attempting to assert control. However, Romy continues to disregard his interruptions, prompting him to tease her further. Out of the blue, Samuel remarks that beneath her commanding exterior, she desires to be dominated. An awkward silence settles in the room, and Samuel quickly realizes that his comment is out of line. Now flustered, he turns his focus to his notes, but Romy snatches the pen from his hand. She hastily scribbles her phone number on the paper, leaving him feeling smug. Romy then tries to exit the room, but Samuel blocks her way. Initially, Romy stares him down, but Samuel doesn't move. Then he kisses her. That night, Romy receives a message from an unknown number, but before she can read it, she hears odd sounds outside. Curious, she glances out the window and is stunned to see Isabel fooling around with their neighbor, Ophelia, despite being in a relationship with Mary. Disturbed by what she witnessed, Romy confronts her daughter the next day. To her astonishment, Isabel confesses that she still loves Mary and is only toying with Ophelia. That afternoon, as Romy exits their building, Samuel rushes over to her. He questions why she skipped their mentorship session, but Romy brushes him off and keeps walking. Unwilling to back down, Samuel corners her and continues questioning, drawing the attention of passers-by. Feeling pressured, Romy finally says she'll think about attending the sessions. Later, Romy drops by a theater where Jacob works as a director, just to spend time with her husband. Jacob is caught off guard by her sudden visit. It's been years since she last set foot there. Romy simply smiles and begins acting affectionate, leaving Jacob puzzled. That evening at a bar, Romy sits at a table with her team, but her gaze frequently shifts towards Samuel. Unexpectedly, Esme leaves to socialize with the interns. She laughs at Samuel's jokes and lightly hits his arm in amusement. Their closeness stirs a pang of jealousy in Romy, but when the waiter sets a glass of milk in front of her, she snaps back to reality. Perplexed, she wonders who ordered it, but no one at her table claims responsibility. When she locks eyes with Samuel, she realizes he sent it. Without hesitation, she drinks it while maintaining eye contact with him, which seems to please him. After the event, Romy is settling the bill when Samuel quietly appears behind her and compliments her compliance. One evening, following Jacob's performance, Romy rushes backstage to congratulate him. However, she soon informs him she must leave due to a work emergency. Jacob becomes upset. This was the one night he truly needed her there, but Romy stands firm. Back at her office, Romy finds a note from Samuel on her desk, commanding her to meet him at a hotel the next night. At the scheduled time, Romy hurries to a low-cost hotel, uneasy about Samuel's tone. To her dismay, she finds herself alone in the room, forced to wait, something she's not accustomed to. Moments later, Samuel arrives but greets her coldly. Infuriated, Romy tells him to stop calling her, leaving notes and even buying her drinks, labeling these acts inappropriate from an intern. Samuel is baffled, pointing out that she arrived in seductive clothing, suggesting she came to continue their affair. Suddenly, he orders her to kneel, but Romy firmly refuses. She confesses that she's hesitant to explore her desires with him, because she's concerned about exploiting their unequal positions. Samuel confidently declares that he holds the upper hand, claiming that a single phone call from him could destroy her entire career. He again commands her to kneel. Romy attempts to obey, but shame overtakes her. She grabs her belongings and heads for the door. Yet, moments later, She turns back and kisses Samuel passionately. He pushes her away, explaining that's not how he wants things to begin. To delve into Romy's hidden desires, Samuel instructs her to position herself on all fours. Romy complies. He then feeds her with his hand, treating her almost like a pet. As the tension deepens, Samuel begins to touch her, and Romy allows herself to be exposed and vulnerable. After their encounter, Romy becomes emotional. Finally, she feels fulfilled. Understanding her emotional state, Samuel embraces her gently to comfort her. Realizing she has found someone who can satisfy her unmet needs, Romy continues to meet Samuel in secret. Due to their clandestine meetings, Romy feels invigorated, prompting her to engage more positively with her family. However, her joyful days are short-lived when Samuel unexpectedly appears at her country house. He claims he's merely returning the laptop she left at the office, but Romy is well aware he's being dishonest. Not wanting to raise suspicion, Romy masks her anxiety by going along with his pretense. Later, inside her car, Romy firmly reprimands Samuel for showing up at her home, stating that he crossed the line. She emphasizes that her family means a great deal to her, and she doesn't want to jeopardize it. Wounded by her words, Samuel attempts to exit the car, but Romy has locked the door, insisting she has more to say. She declares that their affair must come to an end, which further disheartens him. The next day at the office, Romy encounters Samuel speaking with Mr. Missile, one of the board members. A wave of fear washes over her as she worries Samuel may have disclosed their affair, prompting her to retreat to her office. Samuel maintains a composed demeanor and simply greets her courteously before walking away. Fortunately, Mr. Missile begins their conversation by discussing her advertising campaign. Suddenly, Romy receives a message from Samuel, directing her to meet him on the rooftop. Once there, Samuel reveals his intention to be transferred to another department, because he feels uneasy working with her. Romy forbids it, warning that such a move would arouse suspicion among their colleagues and potentially destroy her career. Despite her protests, Samuel remains resolute, believing it's the wisest decision for them both. That night, Romy waits for a message from Samuel, but instead, Jacob slides into bed beside her and initiates intimacy. Annoyed by his inability to satisfy her, she pushes him away and leaves the room. Not long after, she visits Samuel at the bar where he works part-time, hoping to discuss their situation, but he blatantly ignores her. Instead, Samuel instructs his coworker, Josh, to escort her out. The next morning, Jacob expresses his pain over being rejected the previous night. Romy apologizes, explaining that she was merely stressed, insisting her words held no real meaning. Still, her hurtful remarks linger in Jacob's mind, and he abruptly leaves for work. Soon after, Romy meets Samuel out of concern that he may have exposed their affair. Sensing her vulnerability, her longing to continue their relationship despite her fears, Samuel advises that they must ensure mutual consent moving forward. This concept is unfamiliar to Romy, so Samuel clarifies that both parties must willingly agree before engaging in intimacy. He adds that it would be best to set a rule. She must follow his commands. Initially, Romy argues against the idea, prompting Samuel to threaten to reveal their affair. She quickly yields to his demand, and he seizes the moment to order her to sit down. Then, he instructs her to say aloud that she will obey his orders. Later, the two meet in a high-end hotel suite to resume their affair. Samuel instructs Romy to undress, and she hesitantly complies. He praises her appearance, but Romy becomes emotional, ashamed to expose the body she feels insecure about. To her astonishment, Samuel gently embraces her and assures her that she's beautiful. Before they make love, he asks her to choose a safe word. Romy suggests using her husband's name. Eventually, the two share a passionate night together, leaving Romy feeling content. The next day is Isabel's birthday, and Romy is surprised to see Esme arrive with Samuel. Though she finds it uncomfortable, Romy graciously welcomes them to the celebration. Later in the kitchen, Romy confronts Samuel for once again showing up at her home uninvited. She's also disturbed by his closeness to Esme. Samuel then reveals that he's actually seeing Esme romantically. Jealousy surges through Romy as she objects to him being involved with another woman. Samuel calls out her hypocrisy, noting that she's married. At that moment, Esme enters the room, prompting them to step away from one another. The following morning, Romy cautions Esme against pursuing a relationship with an intern, warning her that it could threaten her career, especially her upcoming promotion. That evening, Romy heads to a nightclub to spend the evening with Samuel, and he seems to relish her presence. When she returns home, Romy is surprised to find Isabel still awake and clearly upset. Concerned, she asks what's wrong. Isabel confesses that Mary ended their relationship after finding out about her infidelity. The next day, Esme visits Romy to disclose that she knows about her affair with Samuel. However, she assures Romy that she has no desire to destroy her career. Instead, Esme urges her to end things with Samuel and concentrate on being a strong leader within the company. Esme points out that Romy is one of the few women who have reached such a high position, and she should do everything she can to maintain it. Esme's words leave Romy filled with guilt over her actions. She decides to confess her unfaithfulness to Jacob. Curious, Jacob asks who the man is. Romy chooses to protect Samuel by claiming she had met a complete stranger. She then opens up by admitting that she has peculiar fantasies that her lover knows how to satisfy. Feeling betrayed, Jacob scolds her for engaging in an affair, believing she has endangered their children. As a consequence, he commands her to leave their apartment. A short while later, at Romy's country house, she is drowning in remorse when she hears a strange noise outside. It turns out that Samuel has snuck into her property and is leisurely enjoying himself in her pool. Startled by his presence, she confronts him and demands that he leave, fearing someone might catch them. Samuel reaches out his hands, and Romy assumes he needs help getting out of the water. To her shock, Samuel yanks her into the pool with him, and they end up kissing. Afterward, the two head back inside the house, but their moment is interrupted when Jacob suddenly shows up, throwing Romy into a panic. Realizing that Samuel is the man she has been seeing, Jacob calmly asks his wife to give them a moment alone. Romy refuses, afraid that Jacob might lose control. Samuel attempts to defuse the situation, pulling Jacob away from Romy, which leads to a physical fight between the two men. When the altercation concludes, Jacob expresses pity for Samuel, assuming Romy merely used him to satisfy her strange cravings. Samuel pushes back on that notion, asserting that their relationship was entirely consensual and criticizing Jacob for having an outdated view on intimacy. Overwhelmed, Jacob begins to suffer a panic attack, and Samuel, concerned, offers him a glass of water and gives him space to settle down. Feeling guilty for contributing to Jacob's distress, Samuel offers a sincere apology. He then walks through the living room toward the door and exits without looking back. A few days later, Esme, now promoted to Junior Leadership Coordinator, delivers a speech of gratitude dedicated to Romy. As for her superior, Romy remains secluded at her country house, alone and feeling as though her inner spark has burned out. Unexpectedly, Isabel visits and offers her comfort, leaving Romy taken aback. Isabel encourages her mother to return home, saying their father needs her. She explains that Jacob has stopped eating and spends all his time holed up in the theater. With firm conviction, Isabel tells her that Jacob will forgive her, just as Mary has forgiven her. To test the waters, Romy visits Jacob at the theater and takes full accountability for her infidelity. She admits that she is to blame for failing to communicate her emotional and physical needs to him. Later at work, Mr. Missile informs Romy that Jacob has accepted a transfer to Japan, and he wonders aloud if she had anything to do with it. Romy brushes off his question, so he changes the topic. He invites her to spend the weekend at his home, but Romy feels disgusted by his inappropriate offer. Undeterred, he issues her a veiled threat, but Romy, unfazed, fires back with profanity. She snaps that if she ever wanted to be degraded, she'd just pay someone to do it. The next day, Romy, now reconciled with her husband, opens a discussion with him about how to make love to her. In the middle of their intimacy, her mind drifts to a fantasy of Samuel stroking a wild dog inside a shabby hotel room.